Welcome to Crochet 101 with Shay Yarn. For all other videos in this series and more information about this series, you can go to the Crochet 101 playlist in my profile. Today we are going to be covering single crochet, right down to the basics. So last video we went over the slip knot and how to chain. So that is how we are going to start this video. So once again, we are going to create our X. We are going to pull through a loop and pull it right up. And we are going to tighten that loop, not too tight because you want to be able to pull through to create your chains, and we are going to start chaining. And for this, I'm going to work 20 chains just because this is just going to be a swatch for me basically as I teach you how to single crochet. So we have our slip knot, let us chain 20. So again, we yarn over, we pull our hook down, and you have your first chain. Now let's make 19 more. Two important notes before we start our single crochet. So first, it's important when you first start crocheting to count your stitches as you go and to count every single row, because it's very easy to kind of lose a stitch at the end or throughout it, and you don't want to find out 5 rows on that you lost a stitch somewhere along the way and you're down to a different amount than you originally started with. So make sure you're either counting as you go, or at the very least you're counting at the end of the row, and I'll show you what the stitches look like so you can count them easier. Also keep in mind, we chained on 20, but that means that we only have 19 working chains, which is what I'm going to refer to them to. Because this first chain here that's closest to your hook, you're not going to be able to, you can't work a stitch into it, because if you did, you'd be undoing the yarn here, if that makes sense. So you're going to often see on a pattern that it's going to say skip the first chain and like work a single crochet into the second chain closest to the hook. The reason they're saying that is because you can't really work a stitch into this loop here. So because I want to work 20 stitches for you guys, I'm actually going to chain 1 extra. So that means we can skip this one and we have 20 working chains here. So for our initial purposes, I'm going to be teaching you how to work into the side of the chain here. Later on, I'll do a lesson where I show you guys that you can work also into the humps here on the back of your chains, but these are a little bit harder to get into, especially when you're first figuring out your dexterity. So we are going to take our hook, and once again, we're going to be I hold my tension over my finger, and I keep control of my yarn back down here. And we are going to work some single crochets. So what you do for that is you take your hook and you are going to dig. If you can see, we have like a little bit of a V here. You are going to dig into the middle of that V. Again, it's hard at this first row to have open stitches, so you might want to open them up with your fingertip here. And you're going to push your yarn through there. Then you're going to yarn over. That's what this is. If someone says yarning over, it's where you take your yarn and you pull it over your hook, and you're going to pull through or pull up a loop. And now you have 2 loops on your chain or on your hook here, and you are going to yarn over once more and pull that yarn through both of the loops on your hook, and that is your first single crochet. So once again, we take our hook, we go in the middle of this V here, open and pull it open a little bit if you need to. And once you get going, it's really easy to, rather than having to yarn over, you can have your yarn kind of waiting for you to pull up. But when you first start, it's perfectly fine to have it behind and to yarn over, pull through or pull up a loop, yarn over once more, pull through 2, and you have 2 single crochet. In the middle of our V, pull up a loop, yarn over, and pull through 2. And we are going to do that all the way down until we have 20 single crochet. And I'm going to do a few more for you to watch. So we pull through, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, and pull through the 2, using our 2 fingers here to kind of work this through, and then using this hand here to control your yarn. And while having a nice tight tension is important, don't feel like you need to pull these too tight. Your hook is going to make a lot of the size of your crochet stitches for you. And if you're doing it too tight, you're not going to be able to work your next set of stitches. So while you do need to hold tension, and you're going to hear the word tension a lot, it doesn't need to be too tight. So we go through, we pull up, we yarn over, and we pull through. So the last chain we're going to work is the one that's right next to your knot here. Make sure you are grabbing it every single time. It's really easy, especially before you're kind of automatically counting your stitches, to lose the last stitches in your row. And that is your first row of single crochet. And now we're going to go back and we're going to count and make sure we still have 20. And so these are what your stitches look like once you've established them. Your V's, rather than kind of on the side on the chain, are going to be on the top. So we're going to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, and 20 is here. Again, sometimes they curve down at the end, especially when you're first establishing your row. A tip that I've also given to people in the past: take one of your stitch markers or whatever you're using as stitch markers and put it at the end of your row at the very last stitch, so you remember to grab this stitch, because when you come around, it's going to be tucked all the way down there, and you're going to end here and think you can just kind of move on. So now we're going to turn our work and begin our next row of single crochet. And what you're going to do is, it's kind of awkward here. You've got the end of a stitch here, but it's not really clean. And also you're going to have some height with this next row, and this is going to kind of get pushed down here. So what you're going to do at the end of this row is chain 1. You're going to see that referred to a lot. It's the exact same as when you made your initial chains. You are going to yarn over and pull through a loop. And now this row ends with a single chain, just like you started your row with. And so when we flip over our work, we have some existing height to work into our next row with. So let's work into row 2 of your single crochet. So this is just your chain here. We're not going to work into it. We're just using it for height, and we're using it to clean up our row. And now we're going to work single crochet into this first stitch here. And all you're going to do for that is you're going to go under that V. You're going to take your hook and go, you're going to see your V up here. You're going to go underneath it and do the exact same thing to single crochet. You're going to pull over a loop, pull through and up a loop, yarn over and pull through, and you've started a row 2. Again, you're going to go under this V here, through the side here, pull up your loop, yarn over, and pull through. And let's keep working that till the end. Because I placed the stitch marker at the end, I know exactly where my final stitch should go, and you can pull the marker out before you do this stitch if you need to. And now I'm going to ask you to keep practicing these single crochets until the hand motions make sense to you. Unravel them after you've done a few rows and start over again, and I'll see you for double crochets in lesson 2.